Yo, we are live. How we doing, Ideal, man? It's good to see you, bro. It's good to bring
Good
back this,
seeing you.
man. It's good to bring back the fantasy show. For those that or maybe, that haven't been keeping up with me or, Ideal, we were doing this fantasy show about maybe 2 seasons ago, I would say, but yeah, I think we missed out on this last past season, but we back, man. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm sure Ideal loves fantasy football too. We got great debates always every week, and it's just you got nonstop things to talk about weekly. But man, how are you doing, Ideal?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a wonderful sunny Sunday. I've been thinking about football all week. I got a good NASCAR race in the corner to get my eye on. How's
So,
your
man,
Sunday been?
it's been lazy. Good old lazy Sunday like normal. But I'm tweeting out the link right now. If you want to tweet it out too, you can try to get some more people hopping up in the lobby.
Of course. It might freeze me, like my camera, while I'm doing that.
Oh, okay, then you good then maybe.
Or I'll probably go find my second phone and operate Twitter on that one.
All right, so we are talking about all things quarterbacks today for the NFL fantasy slate in the upcoming season. We got some interesting rankings that I'm gonna put up a graphic for the audience to see that we did, or we both completed a top 20, and let's pull that up on the screen. Jump right into it. All right, so here is me and Ideal's top 20 fantasy QB rankings. Man, Ideal, you want to start maybe with some honorable mentions who didn't make the cut?
Off the top of my head, honorable mentions that didn't make the cut for me was like I see you got Tua down there. Um, Geno Smith, I think, is a bit underrated, and I don't think he's top 20 right now. But by end of the season, I've got Cam Ward top 20.
Man, I had Cam Ward at 20, and I just took him out like a couple minutes before I hopped on the show. The thing about Cam Ward is like I love the talent, and I love the upside as well with him, and I agree he probably is a candidate that's going to crack, maybe sneak or crack the top 20. It's just his weapons is kind of old and vet. A lot of mileage on his weapons. Calvin Ridley, the vet, and they just had a report for fall camp, and he came out and said that the offense is looking very mid right now. And I just think from a preseason standpoint, I didn't want to put him in the top 20, but I think that by the end of the season, he very well could start getting that rhythm and continuity with the offense, and his weapons may, pan out for him a little bit. But he does have a little rushing upside. He is a big cat, big in the pocket, but he can be a little mobile. He does have a little escapability to his game. That's all upside in fantasy. If you keep plays moving, and using your feet, get first downs, extend plays. But I think for his game, he got some upside to it.
Yeah, at the very least, I think he's going to have a good, solid rookie year, and we might be putting him top five, top 10 in a couple years.
I think so too. I think for their weapon standpoint, they need to get a little younger around
It,
him.
Titans love getting the old receivers for some reason.
Yeah, and Traylon Burks never really panned out like how we are kind of all hoping for his career. I think he just suffered an injury as well. And
Yeah,
Tyler Lockett, that's another old vet. That's their wide receiver too. So they got Calvin Ridley listed as the wide receiver one, Tyler Lockett as the wide receiver two. That's two old receivers right there with a lot of mileage, but they are some vets, so they can provide maybe some leadership in the locker room, and hopefully the playbook install is going well with them. But Van Jefferson's their wide receiver three. I do like how you feel about Tony Pollard in the backfield for Titans.
Pollard, I've been back and forth on him for this preseason or off season, and like to me, I thought he would take over more than he did last year. I'm still hoping he can do that this year. I got him, I think, pretty high. I got to recheck my rankings, but Pollard, I think, can be a solid RB1. He has high potential for me, but like a low floor. Like he's a top 20, 25 running back.
Okay, so some other honorable mentions. We don't got Aaron Rodgers listed in the top 20. He goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you see any type of upside or any type of good play with from Rodgers at this stage of his career and with this Pittsburgh offense?
Honestly, no, not really. I don't think he's got much left in the tank.
I do like how he has DK Metcalf, and I do like the chemistry he's building, but I just don't like how he's shuffling through teams this late in the career. It's I don't know. I can't see too much upside. He did have a pretty decent stat line last season, but it wasn't the prettiest performance, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we could think of any other honorable mentions. Maybe Russell Wilson with the Giants. How you feel about that landing spot for him?
I don't think he's going to be lasting maybe half the season as QB1. I think Jackson Dart takes over eventually from him.
I am high on the rookie. The rookie does scare off a little bit, I would say as well. The Saints is going to be a fade, obviously. What about Bryce Young with the Panthers?
I think I think he'd do good. I actually have him as my 21 if I was going to, keep going. So I see some upside for Bryce Young. I got him and McMillan being a good duo,
Mm-hmm.
good connection.
A lot of force feeds with McMillan in that offense. He got benched last season at the beginning of the year. He came back towards the back half, and he was very serviceable for fantasy, I would say.
Yeah, it'll be have to be a good showing this year for Bryce Young. I think there's a good chance he might lose his job if he doesn't perform this year.
All right, man. So that was some of just a little bit of honorable mention talk. Anyone watching, we got a good little audience already. Drop a comment, what you're thinking about the rankings. Anyone we sleeping on, anyone that we a little too high on. But let's jump into our rankings right here. So a couple people that you have that I don't have in my top 20. I see JJ McCarthy. We could start there. His first time starting, full time starting with the Minnesota Vikings. It looks like he put on a lot of weight. I like the frame that I'm seeing on JJ McCarthy. Also, I've been looking at a lot of fall camp videos, and it looks like he developed a good bit of patience. I'm noticing a wider base, but I'm also seeing some mixed reviews a little bit on him right now in fall camp. What's your outlook for McCarthy sitting at 19 right there for you?
Part of having McCarthy up there, to me, it's kind of a history of Minnesota quarterbacks. They just, no matter who you put in there, they seem to do pop off. They're solid top QB1s, just to say like that. And McCarthy, I know he back at Michigan, he had a strong Russian upside to him, and I like that. And even with a little bit of weight he's been put on, I think he can still get run out of the pocket if he needs to, pick up some yards, pick up some rushing touchdowns that add to his fantasy value.
And I do like the weapons for Minnesota. I mean, in the backfield, you got Aaron Jones, a veteran running back, in between the tackles, north and south, but can also be a weapon in the pass game right there. And then obviously you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison leading a pretty solid duo right there. One of the better duos in the NFL. So as far as weapons, he got a lot at his disposal. TJ Hawkinson at the tight end. He got a lot of weapons at his disposal. And I mean, look at Sam Darnold last season with that offense and what he did with those weapons. So I mean, if Darnold is any type of upgrade or just any type of just equal to that type of production, you're going to get some good fantasy value from McCarthy. All right, another cat that you have in your top 20 that I don't have is Drake May. He was a rookie last year. Kind of had he had a pretty solid season. I don't know if he caught a lot of people by surprise or not, but he did put the NFL on notice, I'd say, with his game, and then they addressed the offensive line in the NFL draft. They bring in Will Campbell, starting left tackle for him. So, he gets an upgrade on the O line. How you feel about his weapons and how you got him at QB 14?
Yeah, like last season, I saw he had a big rushing upside, and most people wouldn't expect him to be able to run like that. And a little bit of bias for me is I'm a Tar Heel fan as well as a Longhorn, and I've always been high on him. And I maybe a little bias of putting him at high as 14,
Hmm.
but I believe Hill's going to have a very big year at New England. I like his weapons, like you said, Will Campbell at the O line and some other pieces. You got more protection. Uh, this, I think he's going to be borderline QB1 this year.
I am slightly skeptical a little bit on him. I do like the upgrade on the O line, and I did like his QB play. As far as fantasy value, I may see a little inconsistency a little this year from him. Drake May. Yeah, I'm looking at his weapons right here. I do like the back, Ramondre Stevenson. They picked up Stephon Diggs. He's starting to get up there in age. I want to say he's like 30 or 31 or something like that. Coming off an injury too, out of Houston, but all reports are looking that he's kind of back to his game. I'm looking at wide receiver 2 and 3, Demario Douglas and Mac Hollins. I gotta see some from them a little bit. Hunter Henry, the tight end, the vet, but we'll see what Drake May puts up in year 2. Hopefully, he doesn't have a sophomore slump like CJ Stroud did. And if you want to
Uh,
jump in,
another,
if you want to jump
another
in,
weapon you didn't mention was the rookie running back Trayvon Henderson. I think cool.
yeah, Trayvon Henderson from Ohio State. He just tote the rock, take a lot of pressure off of you, hit Hunter Henry over the middle, and use Stephon Diggs as some force feeds. You know, but I do see a little inconsistency from a fantasy perspective. I think maybe from Drake May. I think he has potentials to put up some single digits performances every some weeks, but then some weeks I think he could hit some 20s. All right, CJ Stroud, he had a sophomore slump last season. I would say, he had a lot of injuries. I think with Houston, we could maybe point to that as a credit to his sophomore slump, but it did raise a lot of eyes. And what you thinking about CJ Stroud? Can he get back to what he did that rookie season? He got Nico Collins, and Nico Collins exploded to the scene. If he could stay healthy, he got a true wide receiver one right there. And the back, Joe Mixon, he got hurt too. He needs his weapons to stay healthy.
Yeah, the big thing. I think he was the most sacked quarterback, and someone has to check that last year. So that O line is a big worry, and I think his one of his big receivers that helped in his rookie year is Tank Dell that was hurt last year,
Everyone,
and I know they added Christian Kirk, but I like his receivers. I got my cat joining in.
me too.
Um, so
They
they got Joe Mixon at running back, but he's got a little bit of an injury.
they also got picked up Nick Chubb. I mean, he has an injury
Right, Nick
prone.
Chubb.
He got an injury prone history as well. I do like the two rookie wide receivers they picked up from Ohio State, Jaden Higgins and
Oh, those are
Jalen.
Iowa State.
Well, I mean, yeah, Iowa State, two wide receivers they picked up. I like Nico Collins. He's emerged as a bona fide wide receiver one, and then they got the vet Christian Kirk as the wide receiver two with Dalton Schultz as the tight end. He does have some weapons. They just need to stay healthy, man. But
Got to protect him.
and protect him. You're right. You're right. With I mean Cam Robinson, left tackle, Blake Fisher, right tackle. Just they gotta take a step forward and stay healthy and fix the O line issues a little bit. As far as the fantasy perspective on CJ Stroud, I do think he proved it last season, even with the injuries. He does have a nice little floor play. He does have a little nice little floor play. If everyone could stay healthy, I don't see him exploding maybe, but I do think he has a nice little floor play as a QB2 this season. All right. Speaking, you a Texas fan. How about Matthew Golden going to the Green Bay Packers? Let's jump into Jordan Love next. What's your expectations, outlook, and for the offense for the Packers and for Jordan Love?
For me, I see Jordan Love as Okay, a guy you sub in just when your main quarterback's just on bye or you got an injury, just fill him in. He might be on the waiver wire, and he'll do a serviceable job. Get you 15 points or so, and his weapons outlook. The receivers, there's never really been a clear cut wide receiver. You got
That's true.
Jaden Reed and a few other guys. Can't remember the top of my head right now, but Matthew Golden comes in, and draft capital is spent on him. I hope that he emerges and they treat him as a wide receiver one. Like a new Devontae Adams there.
So Jordan Love finishes as quarterback 17 on the year last year. He did miss one or two games with an injury, and he single digit games. He only had one, two. He only had two single digit performances last season, man.
He's
And
reliable.
I mean that's a consistent. I mean, I don't even want to even consider that floor because I'm looking at his numbers from last season. It's higher than a floor play, I would say, for Jordan Love. And with Matthew Golden coming to that offense, that's a huge weapon addition right there. The wide receivers are very serviceable to maybe even providing talent upside. I do like, Romeo Dobbs has been someone who's kind of been helping them out. But I mean, Matthew Golden, does he take like what's your expectations for Golden?
Expectations is that to start off like I guess wide receiver by committee. You got Dawes, Reed, Golden, probably a couple other guys, and I think it's kind of like Xavier Worthy, another Texas receiver. It took until Rashee Rice got injured and he emerged as a big wide receiver one for the Chiefs last season, late down the stretch. I think Golden will take that kind of approach. Like later in the season, he'll emerge as a wide receiver one. A good pickup.
Yeah, and then I mean Josh Jacobs in the backfield, really really tough runner. Both fringe RB2, RB1, depending on how you're looking at Jacobs. Tucker Craft, the tight end. I'm really high on Tucker Craft. I like his game. He exploded last season, and just he got just a solid overall group of weapons. And like I said, he only had two single digit performances last season, battling some injuries from his weapons, and as himself too. He missed two games, so we let's see who else we want to jump into. All right, I got someone on my list that you don't have. Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford with the Rams. They pick up Devontae Adams, but they do lose Cooper Cup. I do like the Devontae Adams addition. I hate that Cooper Cup left though, but I think with Sean McVay and that offense, I think he's a QB wizard. He's a QB friendly play caller, and the Devontae Adams is going to be a lot of force feeds, I think. And what you thinking about Matthew Stafford this season with the Rams?
That's probably one of the honorable mentions I should have mentioned. I don't think he's on my top 20. I think he's like 22, 23 for me. Um, they did lose Cooper Cup, and I just think he's getting a bit old, but he's getting to his like late Rogers era. He's getting not too far away from that. I think it, the sorry, I wasn't entirely paying attention to everything you're saying because my cat was doing some gross stuff.
You good?
Um,
So Matthew Stafford, I'm looking at his log from last season. He had one, two, three, four, five. He had six single digit games and still finished as QB9 on the season. I mean QB19 on the season. Excuse me. Six single digit games and still finished with QB19, a top 20 performance. Puka, Puka was injured last year. That hurts for sure. And we'll see if Puka could stay healthy. The addition of Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams in the backfield. We'll see what Sean McVay can cook up with this season.
he definitely has the talented weapons around him: Puka, Devontae, and Kyron.
Yeah. All right, man. Dak Prescott. the regular season GOAT for for Dallas. You know, he always struggles in the postseason, but I feel like he's always a solid regular season quarterback. And I love his weapons this year, man. CD Lamb's a bona fide. You know how you look at him, top three for sure. And then you know the addition of what's his name, the George Pickens. George
Yeah,
Pickens is receiver two. Man, I really like George Pickens as a wide receiver two for him in that offense. I think he's going to be a solid play this year as a QB two.
a little bit skeptical of him coming back from injury, but yeah, I think before that injury last year, he was doing pretty solid, and I think was a little bit in the MVP race in 2023. So solid regular season quarterback, and I love him with Lamb and Pickens, and I like the running backs of Javante and Jadon Blue, and Jake Ferguson. I forgot to mention him. So solid group of weapons around him, and I believe he can be top 10 quarterback.
How about Justin Fields going to the Jets? We both got him in our top 20. He survived some great news for that injury that it was only a dislocated toe. We were thinking, oh, like it could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, it's not. You know, hate to see injuries, especially early in pre-camp. You know, where you can miss a whole season. But it was only a dislocated toe, and he's already out there back. I've seen some clips of him, you know, running full speed, and it looks like it's not going to affect him at all. You know, his rushing upside is what makes him so fantasy appeal. You know, he at last season, you know, battling with Russell Wilson, you know, for playing time, and I think this year, you know, he don't got to worry about playing time issues. I think it's going to be his job, and we've seen some track record from Fields with Chicago whenever he was the full time starter. And you know, just like I said with the rushing uphill, you know, you got Garrett Wilson as the wide receiver one. I think a lot of force feeds are coming with Wilson. And what you thinking about Fields?
I know this is probably the guy we talked about the most leading up to this show, and I've been high on him a lot. And I was telling you that, and then the next morning he had the injury to his
Yep.
toe, and it seemed more serious than it was. But yeah, this is Fields' team. I think he needs to ball out, prove he can do good, keep his job, and I believe he's capable of that. I think he's gonna pop off. I think he's gonna his rushing outside is tremendous. I
Yeah.
think one of the only few quarterbacks I've ever gotten 1,000 yards rushing this season. So that plus you said feed Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
yeah, I think he's gonna have to rush a lot in this offense. I mean, I like Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. I'm not necessarily high on Josh Reynolds and Tyler Johnson as the wide receiver two and three. You know, Mason Taylor, the rookie tight end. I'm not overly from a unit standpoint. I'm not really high on all the weapons, but I think he's going to have to carry this offense, which is good for some fantasy value. A lot of volume, a lot of force feeds, and then also we got to talk about game script for the Jets. I think they're going to be down, be playing from behind, so
mhm.
he's going to be forced to throw and forced to make plays. So I think he's a solid QB two out the gate with some QB one upside here and there.
I like
Man,
you mentioned Johnson. I think this could be a good year for him potentially.
okay. Man, Justin Herbert, Chargers, John Harbaugh really took. I mean, he's a great coach, and he got the Chargers kind of on a really great trajectory. And what you thinking about Herbert this season?
Earlier this the off season, preseason, I had him on the lower end near like 18 on my rankings. I've been moving him up. I know he's the if quarterback if things go well. Um, he's got the new running back Omarion Hampton in the backfield, and I want to do a little spoiler on my NFL predictions. If we ever do NFL predictions, I got Chargers winning the Super Bowl.
Dude, I really like the trajectory I'm seeing from the Chargers, and Harbaugh's a really outstanding coach, and he's really big on O line and run scheming. I'm looking at Herbert's log from last year, single digit performances, only two on the season, and those two performances was an 8 and a 9. Finished as QB 12 on the season. Looking at the weapons for him this season, I do like Lad McConkey, and I like Trey Harris, the rookie from Ole Miss. I think that was a sneaky good little pick right there for that offense. He's listed as the wide receiver 3 right now. Najee Harris. Najee Harris was a free agent addition, or he was there last season.
Free agent, I believe.
Oh, and then we got Marion Hampton. Is Marion Hampton a TD leader candidate this season? You think
For
he could
sure.
lead the league in TDs? I'm high on him, Hampton. He's listed as the RB2 right now, but I think he's going to eventually run into that and run with that RB1 role.
I think Herbert has potential to make an MVP run.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really high on. I mean, the defense is going to be solid, and I'm really high on. I like Joe Alt, the right tackle, and like I said, man, I love the trajectory, and I do like how you provided that sneaky little pick right there. All right, Jared, man, you low on him, Jared Goff. I got him in my top 10. What makes you think Jared Goff takes a step back this season?
To me, why I have him so low compared to you is that the quarterbacks I have in front of him, most of them have a good or better rushing upside than he does. He stays in the pocket most of the time. Is not very good with his legs compared to the other guys. And I think that all the rushing touchdowns that he could get as a quarterback that other quarterbacks would get are going to be stolen by Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Man, I'm just looking at his weapons. It's hard for me not to put him in the top 10, though. Just those weapons at his disposal. I'm looking at his log from last year. He finished as QB6 on the season, no single digit performances. So, I mean, really, really consistent play. People are pointing maybe that the O line might take a step back this season, which is kind of concerning a little bit for the Lions. But like I said, bro, those weapons, man, you got Gibbs, Montgomery, and Montross, Jamison Williams, just, the tight end. Like, I just think they got just too much weapons at his disposal for him not to finish in the top 10. But they did lose their no, my bad. I'm tripping. I was thinking of the offensive coordinator. I was from the Bears, Ben Johnson. No, he was with the Lions, right?
Yeah,
Ben,
Ben Johnson went Lions coordinator to Bears head coach.
does that raise any concerns losing Ben Johnson?
Yeah, a few. Like,
Man, he was outstanding play caller.
I think there's going to be Dan Campbell's third offensive coordinator while he's been in the Lions, and to me, like, what's the chances you can get a third elite offensive coordinator? But I
Man,
mean, he's going to be dealing with a great talent, though.
yeah, like I said, I love the weapons. Hopefully, the O line don't take a step back like how people are thinking. So man, we were talking about Ben Johnson. Let's jump into Caleb Williams next. And you want to talk about weapons? What? How you like
That boy
Caleb?
got a lot.
How you like Caleb Williams' weapons disposal this season, man?
Tremendous, so much good offensive line talent. Uh, the DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to be top receiver, top 10, I think. And Caleb Williams, I hated him in college so much, and I'm accepting him this year. That I'd even draft him as my quarterback. Like I got him top 10 over there. I would not be afraid to take him in front of some other people. I got like
And
Murray.
hmm yeah, so Caleb Williams, inconsistency. I would say last season, inconsistencies, ups and downs, boom or bust. Finishers QB 16. Ben Johnson comes into the town. You ramp up the playbook, provide some better QB play. People are thinking that Caleb Williams might be a bust. I think from a fantasy perspective, he's not going to be a bust. maybe from a win loss standpoint, you can maybe point at it if Ben Johnson doesn't turn things around there. But from a fantasy perspective, it's just way too much weapons. He does have a little rushing appeal to his game. I think he got QB1 upside. I'm listing him as a QB2 to start the season, but he definitely got some QB1 upside. And if he could get that consistency, which I think Ben Johnson is going to come in and provide some stability in that offense, but you like just way too much weapons for him not to succeed there.
I think
Bo
Ben
Nix,
Johnson would get Caleb Wright.
yeah, I think so too. I'm really high on Ben Johnson. I wanted him to come to New Orleans, take the Saints head coaching job, but he took Chicago, so I can't hate on him too much.
So who
But
did take the New Orleans job?
Moore, the quarterback, the offensive coordinator from the Eagles.
Not terrible.
Not terrible, not terrible. You're right. Especially for what the cards were dealt. We were scrambling late for trying to find a head coach. Everyone was turning the Saints down because of the situation, and so I think it was a very, very highly serviceable hire, especially with what was available. But Bo Nix, we both have Bo Nix in our top 10. I'm expecting a massive season for the Broncos. I'm getting a lot of vibes. I'm big on vibes. The Broncos, man, Sean Payton, with like the outlook and the trajectory's up, I think.
To me, it feels like Sean Payton's turning this Broncos team into that Saints team that made that Super Bowl run. Bo
Yep.
Nix resembles Drew Brees a lot. I know he spent some time with Drew this offseason, and they added. I don't know why I can't remember people's names right now, but I know
RJ
they
Har-
added some RJ
RJ Har-
Harvey,
and J.K. Dobbins in the
J.K.
backfield.
Dobbins.
I'm looking at the receivers. I like the receivers. Cortland Sutton, wide receiver one. Marvin Mims Jr., the wide receiver two. He's really talented. I think last season he kind of found a little bit of safe play with Sean Payton's offense. I think he probably takes another step forward. They got Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, Devon Veely, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's a sneak. Was he with the Broncos last season, or was that a free agent
I
addition?
think it was Jaguars last year.
Evan Ingram, I think he has a sneaky play this season as a tight end play in that offense. Bo Nix. You know, I just like the trajectory, and Sean Payton's a QB friendly play caller, and I think he's a safe pick this season. I don't know how high if you want to reach for him. I think I would just if I was drafting, I wouldn't reach for Bo Nix, but I wouldn't be disappointed if he fell to me late.
Well,
All right.
in the league I've been talking to you about, I've been drafting in. I think it was seventh round. I grabbed Bo Nix. And I'm not mad about that at all. On the sixth round before that, I grabbed Cortland Sutton. So I like this Denver group.
Me too. Me too. I'm getting vibes. They're gonna have a pretty good solid season, and tough division, tough division. Chargers. Chargers are gonna be solid. Chiefs. Just a tough division, but I do like the trajectory. All right, man. Baker Mayfield. You want to? We've been talking about weapons all show. Baker Mayfield. You can make an argument. Baker Mayfield has some of the best weapons in all of an NFL. I'm not even joking, man. Like I am so high on the Bucks and the weapons. Baker Mayfield, man. Almost feel like if he don't finish as a top five, that he might have busted a little bit this season with those weapons. Like Baker is going to just have a safe floor with some massive upside. What's your thoughts on the Bucks and Baker?
Baker, I think amazing talent. You got Amika, McMillan, Godwin, who's a little bit hurt, Evans, Rashad White, Bucky Irvin. I drafted Bucky Irvin in my fantasy football league. It's no matter who you give that ball to, it's they can take it to the house.
Yeah,
Touchdown every play, basically.
yeah,
Baker also can run with his legs. No matter who has that ball, it's gonna be electrifying with the Bucks. And
man. I'm getting vibes that he's going to be doing it all. I think he's going to be hitting digs over the middle, you know, slants and to Evans. and I also see him hitting like quick hitters where you get him in space and just let them have yak with Bucky Irvin. You know, you got Rashad White as a north south runner. Man, just that offense is going to explode this season. I got them as a easily 10 plus win team this season. And just Baker Mayfield, man. If you could get Baker in fantasy this season, I think you got a flirting with a top five again. Well, last season he finished as QB4 last season. So if he could repeat, which I think he's going to repeat that performance, no single digit performances. Well, yeah, he had a 9.5 last season, but just man, the floor is going to be really safe, and you got massive upside there.
Who was that 9.5 against? You know?
It doesn't. It just has it by like the weeks without the opponents. On what I'm
Okay.
looking at here. All right, let's see. Let's keep going with. Let's keep going with our top five right here. Man, you got Josh Allen number one. I got Josh Allen as QB3. What makes you think you got him over Lamar? That's kind of interesting a little bit. Why are you going Josh over Lamar?
Well, he's our reigning MVP. I think he's one of the best fantasy quarterbacks, if not the greatest fantasy quarterback we've ever seen. And I think every year he's finished top two, top three, but besides maybe his rookie year. So he's always going to be at the top for me until proven otherwise. He's do with his arm, his legs. The only problem is kind of his weapons. There's no real like good digs receiver he has. Like he has Khalil Shakir, which I think people are undervaluing a lot.
We said that
But
last season. We said that last season about him that they don't have a true wide receiver one, blah
and he
blah
still
blah,
showed out.
and he still finished as QB2 on the year, posting 385 points. Um, the thing about Lamar Jackson, he just had one of the all-time great seasons. Is that can he repeat that? Like, is that sustainable to repeat that type of performance he had last season? That was just ridiculous what he did. I think he 41 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards rushing, 10 plus on the ground. But like from a fantasy perspective, I look at Lamar and I just think like that rushing appeal, and I think they both safe picks, obviously, but I just think the rushing appeal is what really gets it for me with Lamar.
If I was to do like a tier list, I'd put Allen and Lamar in like a tier above, and then have the rest of the top five in tier two. Those two guys, no matter who you go.
Yeah, and I would say Lamar has slightly better weapons. Slightly, the receivers are kind of even a little bit, kind of. Zay Flowers versus Shakur, Keon Coleman. The backfield though, Derrick Henry, and then James Cook. So I like kind of similar weapons, kind of. But so what about Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow. Let's jump into him next. Joe Burrow had an MVP type season. Man, all these people we discussing right here in our top five, we're all in the MVP watch. Joe Burrow, everyone points to the O line being bad, but he still balled out bad like last season, even with that O line play. So you have Joe Burrow as QB5, maybe as just a second tier below those. What you
Yeah,
looking at Joe Burrow this season?
like you said, to do is that MVP is just the wins and losses. Was not on his side as it was for everyone else, and he's got everyone coming back that he had. I think Jamar Chase, wide receiver one of the year, probably number one overall player. T. Higgins, I got him on my fantasy team. I think he may be a wide receiver too, but he acts sometimes in fantasy as a wide receiver one. And Chase Brown,
Mm-hmm.
I think another person that's being undervalued. He's top 10 running back to me. I wouldn't be mad about getting him in second, third round.
Man, anybody on this offense. Joe
Right.
Burrow, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You got two weekly wide receiver ones. You got a fringe flirting with a RB1, Chase Brown. From a fantasy perspective, no one scares me. I'm hitting on everyone. I'm trying to get any of the Bengals this season. It's always been like the O line play and the defense that's kind of been the downfall for the Bengals. I'm looking at the O line though. Was Orlando Brown Jr. on the roster last season, or was he addition?
I want to say he was on the roster last year.
They do got some names on the O line. Marius Mims from Georgia, Orlando Brown, or those are the tackles. Dylan Fairchild in the guard. We'll see. We'll see if what kind of O line we're looking at this season. I think the
And
Bengals, they need to have a good start out the gate. They always, for some reason, are going like 0-3 or 1-3, and it's kind of hurting a little bit. But from a
Burrow
fantasy,
was dealing with a little bit of an injury to begin last year. Didn't help.
yeah, I'm really confident in Burrow. I got him as QB2 in my list. Jalen Hurts. We've been talking about rushing upside. He's up there with Lamar and Allen rushing and Jaden rushing uphill. Just he's a safe play. Some people maybe question his passing game. I like Jalen Hurts' game. I've been having him on my roster for some redrafts here the last few years, and I've been completely satisfied with Hurts' performance. Just that rushing appeal alone, I think every season in the NFL he got over 10 plus rushing touchdowns. And you got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you got Saquon Barkley, you got a nasty weapon disposal. Safe pick. Pick your poison really with these top six, top seven QBs. We kind of listen a little bit, but what's your expectations for Hurts coming off a Super Bowl?
Well, I know some teams tried to ban the tush push and they were failed. So as long as that's around and the Eagles keep using it, the Hurts is going to keep getting 10 plus rushing touchdowns, and that's going
Yeah,
to help him stay in that top five. And again, he does have the weapons that you said, so the dangerous man right there.
he finished as he finished as QB 12 last season, but he still put up 320 points.
That's shockingly low to me.
Shockingly low if you're looking at it from where he finished, but 320 points is still a really solid
Hmm.
year. I think he goes over. I think he from last season to this season, I'm expecting a better performance from Hurts. All right, Jaden Daniels, man, we had some massive news. We had two massive news break this week with some trade requests. Coming out of the Washington camp, we got Scary Terry McLaurin requesting a trade, which is kind of concerning. I had Jaden Daniels a little up. I dropped him. A couple spots, and I moved Hurts above him. I didn't like how they losing Scary Terry, his wide receiver one. I do like the addition of Debo, but I feel like they kind of disrespected Scary Terry by bringing in Debo and not paying him. I feel like they disrespected Scary Terry a little bit, so he's bouncing. But you losing your wide receiver one. Debo's 29 years old. What are you gonna get from Debo? I like the age still. I think he could still got three prime years in his tank. If he could stay healthy, he kind of a little injury prone. I think they're gonna use Debo way differently than what San Francisco used Debo. I don't think he's gonna be taking all those licks on his body as he did with Washington. Running the ball out the backfield all the time, which is gonna help him hopefully stay healthy. And a lot of force feeds with Debo coming in this offense, and Jaden Daniels proved that he's one of the smartest quarterbacks. I said that, man, he got Tom Brady's brain in like a freaking Lamar Jackson body almost. Like he's really smart pre-snap, which is really rare for a rookie, and his rushing upside was outstanding. I don't know what he. I would like to. I don't know if he had over 1,000 yards rushing. He might have, but his rushing appeal is really, really elite, and I think he's still a safe play, even without the Scary Terry, even without him. I, but we're gonna have to lean on Debo heavily this season now.
And last year, I had drafted Jaden Daniels as a backup to Anthony Richardson, and easily, quickly in the season, Jay Daniels took over as my QB1, and I enjoyed it. He led me to a fantasy championship. So all the praise to that man. Amazing quarterback. Yeah, but they potentially could be losing Terry unless they pay him. And if they pay him, Debo comes up as wide receiver one. I'm not mad about that. I think Debo is still pretty serviceable and can be a wide receiver one.
I think he got about 3 years left in the tank of a prime Debo. And man, if they could pay Terry and somehow keep Terry on board, you got scary Terry and Debo as your weapons with Jaden Daniels, man. And Brian Robinson Jr. very serviceable running back. Austin Eckler, a vet. In the backfield, Zach Ertz, a vet, tied in. I'm curious to see who's going to step up as the wide receiver three. They got Noah Brown listed right now as the wide receiver three, and just I'm still really high on Jaden, even without Scary Terry, and I'm really high on Washington this year as well. They made a playoff push last season. I think they're going to be in the same type of conversations this season. All right, let's see. Did we miss anybody?
Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, yeah. Patrick Mahomes. All right, elite talent, elite arm talent. I got him outside my top five, but I'm expecting a better performance from Pat Mahomes this season than last season. Everybody was pointing towards like the wide receivers being an issue a little bit and maybe not going over the top like how they used to with Tyreek Hill and that type of stuff. But I think, the O line kind of got exposed a little bit against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They did, I want to say they drafted an O line though. Who was their first round pick? You remember who the Chiefs got?
Not top of my head.
Yeah, but I think Mahomes is going to perform a little bit better this year. I think they did have some injuries though. You know, I think didn't they lose? Was Rasheed Rice injured last season?
Yeah,
Pacheco was injured last season as well. Man, they do got some receivers though, man. Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and then looking at some of the backups, Juju Smith is a vet. Sky Moore never really panned out like how we think. And Travis Kelsey's getting a little up there in the age, probably his last season. But I think from a fantasy perspective, I think he's going to be a top 10 play still.
for sure. The past two seasons haven't been the best for Mahomes, but they still damn good.
Yeah,
And he's got Rasheed Rice coming back from injury, a lot of reps with Worthy from last season. So I think with more time he's been practicing with both of them, I expect even Worthy. He seems similar to me way back when he was at Texas. Like he was miniature or the next Tyreek Hill. So I could see him filling that role that Tyreek played years ago, potentially.
yeah.
And
Rasheed Rice, I'm looking at his numbers, bro. 29 targets, 24 catches, 288 yards, and two TDs before he got injured. And double-digit targets against Atlanta, 9 targets against Baltimore. He only played in 3 games. He didn't have a target in one of these games, but so man, Rasheed Rice, they need him to stay healthy. They need him to really take that wide receiver one role and run with it. And he does have the talent. They're gonna have a lot of force feed targets. Honestly, I think they're gonna spread the targets. You got Pacheco, you got Kareem Hunt, you got Travis Kelsey. I think the target share is gonna be spread out, but man, Rasheed Rice, if that's they need him. I think he's the missing piece to the offense. If he could jump in and run with that wide receiver one role, Patrick Mahomes got some really great fantasy appeal. Kyler Murray, I'm high on Kyler Murray this year, and I'm really high on Marvin Harrison Jr. this year as well. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. explodes. Rookie campaign he had ups and downs a little bit, but I think they're going to find some consistency. We've been talking about rushing upside, and rushing upside was really makes or breaks a lot of these fantasy quarterbacks. You know, but just that rushing uphill alone, the escapability out the pocket. Let me pull up Arizona's depth chart, but go ahead and talk about Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, I think back in 2020, he showed a lot of promise, and the years following, we've every year, like if he could do that again, that's a solid pickup, solid QB for you. And every year, doesn't seem like he quite reaches that level. Personally, I want to blame just the Cardinals being a terrible organization for
Mhm.
that, not giving him the proper talent. A lot of people want to say it's him playing too much Call of Duty, just not focusing on football. But I believe in Kyler Murray. Still got him as a top 10 quarterback. Rushing appeal is undeniable. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. over there. Probably the best Cardinals receiver since Fitzgerald, other than Fitzgerald, maybe. Anquan Bolden might give him a run. Uh, Man, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has a better career than Anquan Bolden at the end of it. Uh, but yeah, James Conner in the backfield is running back. He's getting up there in age, but still a good top 15, 20 running back. Always gets you what you need.
Kyler Murray finished as QB 10 last year with a 308-point performance. No single digit performances last season. So, and game script is very important for fantasy. If you wanted someone with some excellent game script, Kyler Murray is going to be playing from behind. With the Cardinals obviously not being that great of a team. That's what it kind of helps him out a lot. He's always in the fourth quarter battling it out. Trying to come back late on teams, and he gets a lot of garbage time fantasy points. He gets a lot of playing from behind, beautiful game scripts. That rushing appeal, man, he's a safe top 10 pick from that's kind of my perspective on him. I wouldn't be disappointed with any of these cats from the top 12. I would say after probably 12 it kind of gets a little, maybe start getting a little tricky, and then that's when you start getting in your QB2 territory a little bit. Lastly, man, anyone you want to talk that we didn't talk about on the rankings?
I think the only names that C left off that we haven't talked about is Purdy and Lawrence.
We got a comment right here from Parker Bledsoe. Would you rather have Henry and Devontae Adams or A Chain and Marvin Harrison Jr.? Ooh, give me A Chain and Marvin Harrison Jr. Come on now. What you got, Ideal? That's I got Marvin Harrison Jr. as a wide receiver one, top 10 for me. I got him as wide receiver 10. So he just hits my wide receiver one. I'm expecting Marvin Harrison Jr. to break out. A Chain, I got him as RB4. Just massive splashy play. Yak monster. A Chain in Miami's offense. But I mean, if you want to go with the vets, the old vets, and the old reliables, then you got to go Henry and Devontae Adams. What's your thoughts on this one right here?
First off, are you able to access my rankings right now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I believe I have A Chain fourth. I'm not sure about Henry.
You have Derrick Henry as 5.
So either one makes very good. And I think Devontae fourth receiver. And I'm not sure about Harrison.
You have Harrison at wide receiver 19, wide receiver 2 territory.
So to me, A Chain Henry is about the same. Devontae to me is a little bit better than Harrison,
Hey,
but
full PPR too. Um, I don't know if that plays a role or not. A Chain's going to be a freaking target monster through the air. Henry's a little bit all on the ground, but he has all those touchdowns, which makes him still correlate to some full PPR. But to me, I'm going A Chain and MA's Marvin Harrison Jr. right here, Parker. Thank you for the comment.
at the end of the day, I'd go with A Chain and Harrison.
Yeah, you got a lot of upside right there in the passing game. Thank you for the comment, Parker. If you're not already subscribed, man, we would love for you to subscribe and keep up with us this year. We're going to be doing this fantasy show weekly, and it's going to be a really, really fun season. Start sits, breakdowns, analysis. Me and Ideal's going to run with it this season. And we got a really great audience, 36 people right now. I really appreciate everybody watching. If you want to drop in a little comment real quick or ask us any questions, hurry up and get that in because we're going to be closing it out here shortly. And man, just what's your excitement level for the season? Man, I am so excited for the season. You know, I'm a college football junkie,
Yeah.
and we college football diehards. But man, this season coming up, I can make an argument that I'm almost just as excited, if not maybe more, for the NFL. And like, God, it's gonna be a fun season. I can't wait. I can't wait to jump in some weekly rankings and weekly start sits and all that type of stuff. Thursday night football, we got a beautiful slate this coming season. You've seen the news that NFL Red Zone's going to ESPN.
That was massive news. I loved it.
I hope ESPN doesn't fuck it over and ruin the show. They got to keep Scott Hansen. They got to keep him on board. Let him keep hosting it. Don't add any commercials. Like I've been seeing some rumors and all that type of stuff. Just keep your hands off, laissez faire. Let Scott Hansen do his thing, and I think it's gonna be good. But that was some massive news, and also some other massive news was the trade request from Dallas.
Oh,
The
Micah.
Micah Parsons, man, Jerry's man, he fucked up bad with that one. I think uh, can't let him go, but they don't want to pay him, so he's getting the vibe that they don't want him here.
My best friend over at my work, he's a big Cowboys fan. He kept telling me that the Cowboys should trade Micah, and this is around draft time. Trade Micah and move up to draft Ashton Genty. So I wonder how he's feeling about this right now. I haven't asked him yet.
Say that was what was the question?
Oh, it wasn't a question. Just my friend at work was Cowboys fan. He wanted to trade Micah Parsons
For
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 for to trade up to get Ashton Genty.
I would
And I'm
I
just
would
wondering how he's feeling about the Micah Parsons situation now.
man, I would love that from a Dallas perspective. If you could get rid of Parkins and get a really elite, I mean, I feel like you have to get an elite player from Parkins' value. That's how I look at it. Like if you get like draft picks or serviceable players, you getting fucked from a Dallas perspective. I don't like the situation. I hate how he's going. I'm the type of person that I like legacy. I like people staying with if they could, if they could stay with one team for their whole career. I hate when people move or get traded or leave teams and stuff like that. Obviously, they taking care of themselves first, but I'm a big legacy guy. Like Alvin Kamara for the Saints, staying on the same team his whole career. I like players like that, but obviously, like I said, you gotta take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, man, we're gonna wrap it up, man. We just hit about 58 minutes on the show. Don't want to go over an hour for sure on this one, but it was a
Yeah,
fun opening position in the rankings. Next week we're gonna jump into running backs, and man, RBs are deep. Ideal, deep, deep, man. So next week's gonna be another fun show. We'll see you next Sunday. We appreciate everybody watching. If you can follow, subscribe. Ideal, you follow him on Twitter, Ideal Dynasty, and we'll see y'all next week.
see ya.